Imagine a world where the most dangerous enemy isn't a visible force, but a hidden flaw within us. A flaw that undermines progress and corrodes society from within. Have you ever stopped to wonder why some individuals seem doomed to repeat the same catastrophic errors, regardless of the knowledge available? Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the renowned German theologian and resistance fighter, argued that true stupidity is not just a simple lapse in judgment. It is a destructive, self-perpetuating force, a deliberate refusal to engage in critical thought. Today we're diving deep into the theory of stupidity, exploring how this insidious mindset transcends mere ignorance to become a profound social hazard that imperils us all. Bonhoeffer challenged the conventional idea that stupidity is merely the absence of knowledge. Instead, he saw it as an active, almost rebellious state of mind, a willful shutdown of the capacity to question and learn. It's not that the stupid lack information. They choose to reject new ideas, clinging to outdated beliefs and unchallenged assumptions. This isn't a passive condition. It's a deliberate, often complacent decision to ignore the complexities of reality. In Bonhoeffer's eyes, this is far more perilous than ignorance because it prevents self-correction and stifles growth. Imagine a person who, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, refuses to re-examine their beliefs. That is not simply being uninformed. It is a stubborn resistance to the very process of learning. This obstinate mindset shuts down the potential for change and renders individuals, and ultimately entire societies, vulnerable to destructive ideologies. Bonhoeffer didn't view stupidity solely as a personal failing. It is a social force, a contagion that spreads through communities and institutions. When critical thought is abandoned, individuals become mere cogs in a machine, accepting simple narratives without question. Bonhoeffer warned that this collective mindset can be far more dangerous than overt malice. It is the quiet, insidious power of unthinking obedience that can fuel tyrannies and enable atrocities. Historical events, especially the rise of totalitarian regimes, illustrate this grim reality. Bonhoeffer observed how the uncritical acceptance of authority allowed dangerous ideologies to flourish. Ordinary citizens, paralyzed by a reluctance to challenge the status quo, unwittingly became the backbone of regimes that perpetrated unspeakable horrors. In this context, stupidity is not a minor flaw. It is the very soil in which evil takes root. A critical insight from Bonhoeffer's work is the relationship between power and stupidity. When individuals ascend to positions of authority, the pressure to conform often intensifies. Those in power may surround themselves with yes men, creating an echo chamber that reinforces their unexamined beliefs. This environment not only diminishes the potential for innovation, but also deepens the intellectual inertia that makes change impossible. Imagine a leader who, rather than challenging their own ideas, only seeks approval from a group of sycophants. In such a setting, critical reflection is sacrificed on the altar of conformity, and stupidity becomes a self-sustaining loop. The absence of questioning leads to decisions based on emotional reaction rather than reasoned analysis, a recipe for disaster on a societal scale. Philosopher Hannah Arendt expanded on Bonhoeffer's ideas with her concept of the banality of evil. Arendt argued that great atrocities are not always the result of monstrous individuals, but of ordinary people who fail to think critically. When stupidity becomes institutionalized, it creates an environment where unreflective obedience and shallow acceptance of authority can lead to the most devastating outcomes. Consider the chilling reality of authoritarian regimes where dissent is crushed and independent thought is discouraged. It is not the overtly evil who pose the greatest threat, but the millions of individuals who, through intellectual passivity, enable oppressive systems to persist. This collective failure to engage in critical reflection is what Bonhoeffer warned against, a failure that not only destroys potential, but also perpetuates injustice. Modern psychology reveals that our minds are predisposed to favor certainty over complexity. This cognitive bias can make it tempting to cling to simplistic answers, even when they are fundamentally flawed. Bonhoeffer's critique of stupidity challenges us to recognize that this bias is not harmless. It can lock us into a state of intellectual complacency. When confronted with complex problems, many of us instinctively choose the path of least resistance, opting for quick, simplistic answers rather than engaging in the difficult process of critical thought. This natural inclination, when left unchecked, leads to a dangerous stagnation, a mental state where the pursuit of comfort eclipses the quest for truth. Recognizing and resisting this bias is essential if we are to break free from the chains of unthinking conformity. The consequences of embracing stupidity are profound and far-reaching. In a society where critical inquiry is devalued, intellectual growth is stifled, and innovative ideas are suppressed. Bonhoeffer argued that the refusal to engage in reflective thought not only undermines personal development, but also jeopardizes the collective progress of society. Imagine a community where every decision is made based on shallow, unexamined beliefs. A place where diversity of thought is smothered by the need for uniformity. In such a society, creative problem-solving and ethical progress are virtually impossible. The cost of this intellectual stagnation is not merely an abstract loss. It manifests in real-world consequences. Poor governance, social fragmentation, and the unchecked rise of authoritarianism. Stupidity, in this sense, is a self-perpetuating curse that diminishes our ability to adapt and evolve. In our modern era, the spread of information has become both a blessing and a curse. Mass media and social networks, while offering access to a wealth of knowledge, also have a dark side. They often promote simplicity over complexity. Bonhoeffer's insights are more relevant than ever in an age where sensationalism and echo chambers can reinforce uncritical thinking. Consider how digital platforms reward content that is easily digestible and emotionally charged. Misinformation, fake news, and oversimplified narratives spread like wildfire, drowning out the nuanced discussions necessary for true intellectual growth. This phenomenon, this pervasive culture of simplicity, nudges us toward conformity and away from the critical engagement that is essential for a healthy democracy. The result is an environment where stupidity can thrive, and where the true value of independent thought is diminished by the relentless pressure to conform. So, how do we break free from the dangerous cycle of stupidity? The answer lies in actively cultivating critical thinking and intellectual curiosity. Bonhoeffer's call to resist unthinking conformity is as urgent as ever. We must challenge the narratives that are handed down to us and strive to seek out diverse perspectives, even if they make us uncomfortable. Begin by questioning everything. Don't accept information at face value. Instead, dig deeper, ask probing questions, and look for evidence. Engage in open, respectful dialogue with others who challenge your views. Embrace the discomfort that comes with challenging long-held beliefs, for it is in that discomfort that true growth occurs. Invest in continuous learning through reading, reflection, and conversation. Develop a mindset that values depth and complexity over superficial consensus. By doing so, you not only empower yourself, but also contribute to creating a society where independent thought and intellectual diversity are celebrated. Bonhoeffer's theory of stupidity serves as a stark reminder of the immense cost of intellectual passivity. It warns us that the willingness to blindly accept ideas without question is not just a personal failing, it is a societal danger. The lack of critical thought can lead to the rise of oppressive regimes, the spread of destructive ideologies, and the erosion of our most cherished democratic values. We must take personal responsibility for our intellectual lives. Challenge yourself to be curious, to learn, and to think deeply. Recognize that true progress requires not only the accumulation of knowledge, but the capacity to critically assess that knowledge. This is not an abstract pursuit. It is a concrete necessity if we are to resist the forces that would enslave our minds and stifle our potential. As we reach the end of this exploration into the theory of stupidity, ask yourself, are you willing to break free from the chains of uncritical thought? In a world where the allure of simple answers and conformity is ever present, the courage to think independently is both a personal challenge and a social imperative. Bonhoeffer's insights compel us to recognize that true intelligence is not measured solely by what we know, but by our willingness to question, to reflect, and to grow. If you're ready to embrace critical thinking, to challenge the status quo, and to resist the dangerous pull of intellectual passivity, then take that first bold step today. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. How have you overcome the lure of unthinking obedience? What steps are you taking to cultivate deeper, more reflective thought in your life. If this video has sparked a fire of curiosity in you, please hit that like button, subscribe to Echoes of Wisdom, and turn on notifications so you never miss an insight that could change your life. Remember, the power to transform society begins with the willingness to think for yourself. Embrace your intellectual responsibility, challenge the comfortable narratives, and strive for a future where critical thought reigns supreme. Thank you for watching, and here's to a life driven by intellect, integrity, and unwavering truth.